Greetings, Shelpers. Thank you for joining me today for some Vampire Survivors. I called an audible last minute. I apologize about that, but this game has had a lot of DLC since I last played, and I thought I would check it out. I don't remember if what I did or didn't do to get this character yet, but I don't have this person. And then the Castlevania DLC, which I showed off in a YouTube video, has like 16 characters. And then there is a bunch of other characters from like a game called Saga Emerald, whatever. And there's a new character I think called Mozzarella, though I could be wrong about that. And I don't even remember what else, but there's a lot. Oh, there's the Bellatrix update as well. So Jimbo is playable. I don't know why the hell I backed out in the game. We're going to start with Grandpa Sweaty Balls. And then we're going to see like what we're doing exactly. Okay, is there any place I haven't been not yet discovered? I think these might be the newer places, obviously. I'm not sure. That's Ode to Castlevania. So do I have to play the Castlevania stuff to get more stuff out of it, maybe? I don't know. Do I have to pick a Castlevania character? Let's go and see if we can find the new weapons and stuff. I might have to pick somebody from the franchise, though. I have no idea. I was going to play Letter Quest today, but I didn't know if my brain would cooperate. We have to go to the store tomorrow, and yeah, I'm not feeling the best, so that's not going to do me any favors probably, but we'll see what happens. Okay, predictable special continuity. Healing is doubled. Okay, we're gonna try this one. But yeah, we're gonna do Grandpa Sweaty Balls. I already have a push on here, that's nice. I hope I can unlock some stuff to share with you. I'm not sure though. I wonder if like there's more people in the stage to unlock via coffin find or what. But yeah, when my brain is kind of tilted and stuff, I don't mean tilted as in angry, I just mean tilted as in it doesn't know what it wants to do or work properly. I'm always afraid that playing a game that requires brain power like a trivia game or a word game, it's just not going to go well on stream. So yeah, I'm going to walk toward the big thing they're showing me. At least attempt to. I probably should have picked the Bible. It would go well with Grandpa Sweaty. But that's okay. Otherwise, I had a decent weekend. I wanted to work, but my brain was like, haha, bitch, you wish. So I didn't actually get anything done, which was a bit rough on me because I've been trying to get back into like submitting poetry and doing hashtag all the things, but thus far, nothing. And it was really disheartening for me because I didn't really submit last month, as I've stated. Let's see. Shields damage when active. Fires at a random enemy. We already have that. I don't really care for the axe much. But the laurel sounds like it only is situational, and I know it is. So we'll do fire wand. We have wand and fire wand. I am playing a game where you can mix powers together, i.e. ball pit. Well, no, not i.e. exactly ball pit. So because of that, did I just walk around the forest without finding my way in? I believe I did. God dang it. Okay. We're just gonna go back this way. I think I took a wrong turn at Albuquerque. I'm not standing in the middle of that summoning circle. I know what that's, you know, what that is. Relic found. Castlevania's map. Okay. So I never found the map here before. Each stage has a map. Should we stand here? I have a feeling it isn't gonna go well. Cock blocked. Hang on. Let's see. Circling zone. Oh, we can do the circling zone, why not? Yeah, I knew it would summon something. Usually you summon things in a circle or protect with a circle. For those of you who like practice magic or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. So I was talking or looking at a friend's post, and they were talking about what it was like to trick or treat as a kid with a disability. And apparently people used to just fling candy down their porch steps at him. I'm not joking. So instead of like coming down, letting the kid pick a piece of candy, they actually would just chuck it down the steps and just watch him try to pick it up from the ground. I can't imagine. I always wanted to go trick-or-treating, but I didn't think about how bitchy and cold some people can be to like disabled kids just wanting to be normal. I mean, that part, yes. I mean, I've dealt with that part, but the thought that they would do that on like a holiday and shit was just mind-boggling to me. I believed them though, because I've seen what people do to each other, and well, I've dealt with some of it too, let's be real, but it was flabbergasting me. I'm like, I used to want to go. Maybe it was a good thing I never did. You know, nowadays if an adult wants to trick or treat, it's called a bar crawl, so, and I'm not into that at all. I want a Halloween party or a masquerade. I would love a masquerade ball, but part of the masquerade ball is like people not really knowing who you are, and my gigantic fucking wheelchair and shit would basically let them know who I was right away. So okay, let's get some bigger balls up in here. I didn't know my balls already pulsated, by the way. I thought I had to upgrade them a lot before they did that. I hope I find other stuff here. Let me see the map. Okay, hang on. Okay, I'm zoomed out. Let's see. Oh hell, I forgot they have like this large castle. But I don't know. Okay. Does that mean I can go down and there's like a lot more? Hang on. I might only have uncovered like the castle bit. I'll just keep checking. No, it looks like it's cut off here. So is the castle the entirety of the map then? Maybe I'm just thinking there's something there's not. I don't know. Yes, get better for me. Get stronger, my birds. As far as Thanksgiving, husband and I don't know if we're having it for a few reasons. It would be okay if not. Like, Thanksgiving doesn't really, I don't want to say mean much, but like, we don't really have family to go to. His is far away, mine is non-existent. Essentially, outside of like my sister and my baby brother. And they each have their own family stuff going on or can't make it home. So Thanksgiving is really not a holiday for anything other than like us just having a cheesecake and stuffing and all that, and then just maybe watching the parade, or we watch like The Life with Louie Thanksgiving, and we watch Garfield Thanksgiving, which is goated. Garfield has a really awesome Thanksgiving special. And then that's about it. We don't watch like the Charlie Brown one or anything. So it isn't too bad if we have to like cut it out or miss it or whatever, but at the same time, yeah, see, there's more of a map to this. But at the same time, I just don't know, you know? When we were young, it was a dress rehearsal for Christmas, where instead of like candy and cookies, mom made 18 kinds of pie, and then everybody came over and all that stuff, but we don't have that kind of thing anymore. So it would just be the two of us anyway, so I don't know, we'll have to see. Let's see what we get here. Yeah, my mom used it essentially for a dress rehearsal for Christmas. We had Christmas movies and music. We had everybody dressed up, everybody over. The decorations for Christmas were all up and running by that point. So essentially the only thing that happened is instead of cookies and candy, it was pie, and then we did not get gifts. But you were still like everybody over, dressed in your best. Everything Christmas was going on. Maybe we watched the parade in the morning instead of, you know, Miracle on 34th Street or whatever the hell mom wanted to put on that day. But it was pretty much the way it was. I hope you're doing well, by the way, Shy Guy. I am having a bad, like, stomach day. I'm not gonna, like, go any further than that, but yeah, so it's been rough today. And I wanted to work this weekend, and my brain was like, fuck you. So that was painful as well. Because I always argue with myself, like, my brain does this whole thing about, like, it doesn't matter that you work because nothing you try actually goes anywhere. Which is sort of true. And then, so I fight the why bother, and then my brain is like, you're not working, you're just a lazy fuck. So it becomes a, should I work? And then, like, see how brain fogged I get and whatever else, and then it not matter, or should I not work and then feel like I'm lazy and a bum and all that. So yeah, hard one to say, you know, hard one to say. But yeah, the same friend that was telling me about trick-or-treating as a kid when he was disabled actually sent me a message and then deleted it, and I'm like, okay, what's up? And he's like, I have a poem I wanted to send you that I wrote, but you're a professional, so I chickened out. And I'm like, oh yeah, so professional. I essentially, and I'm gonna tell you the secret of my quote-unquote success. Ready? Because this is really important for everybody to learn. I write mediocre poems, but I just keep sending them to people. Because eventually, and this is the God's honest, you keep shoving your poetry or whatever in front of people, and you will get somebody who likes it eventually. You'll find people who enjoy it, want to publish it, etc. Yeah, you have to, like, read what, you know, in the genres you're writing in, and you have to practice and, you know, refine what you're doing. You can't just send out sloppy work that you never, like, refined, you never whatever. Everybody knows that part. But eventually you just keep sending it out until someone likes it. Sometimes some of my poems, it takes a decade or more to get people interested. A decade. And that's not me sending it out to like 3 places and then waiting 5 years and then doing it again. I mean fairly consistent sending out. But eventually you will find that audience. Yeah. The stagnancy or I guess the plateau is where people exist a lot of times. I'm sorry that you're not making headway, but at the same time I'm glad you're not doing worse. Hope that made sense. So yeah, I write mediocre poetry, and I've talked about how I'm kind of caught in the middle of it because I am not what is considered a poet's poet, where I write to the academia and I use the esoteric stuff and the certain types of imagery they expect and all that. People could say I'm just not good enough for that, sure, but there's more to it than that to be a poet's poet. But yeah, I'm not like an Instagram poet where, like, how do I put this? I'm caught in a weird liminal space where not a lot of like regular people like my work. The regular people, yes, the plebs. That's not what I mean. I mean like regular people, like regular everyday people, because a lot of people can't identify with it. A lot of people don't like the types of visuals, whatever it is that I use, okay? But yet, let me sneak around. I'm not a poet's poet where I do the academia stuff and the allusions to certain things and whatnot. So it's kind of hard because I feel like I'm in this really bad middle. I think I've talked about that before. So when people are talking to me about how I am like this professional poet, and technically I've had a book published, but it's only been one, and I'm 40, and we all know how that goes. Thanks to academia, the fact that I haven't had at least 2 books plus published by now means that my career is going to be stunted and limited and all that other fun stuff. And people are like, who told you that? It is just unfortunate knowledge in some places, at least in the academia, which means, you know, again, with the poet's poet thing going on. I have no idea. It's just not. I fall in a weird liminal space, and I'm not sure I enjoy it. But my mom would always like encourage me, but yet make sure to show me that it was not, that I was not something that a poet that could be easily understood and whatnot. When I started writing a certain way and it wasn't just like simple rhyming, she would always be like, it's too hard for me, Dolly, it's too hard to understand and stuff. But yeah, when I would, you know, submit to journals and stuff that dealt with more serious stuff in academia and would be respected, people would just be like, yeah, your stuff isn't like, how do I put this delicately? My stuff was rudimentary. My stuff was just unpleasant, cliche, like all the fun things that they could possibly tell me about my damn work. Oh yeah, I forgot I need to go find a bridge in this level. This level is really hard to get through. And I'm just entering the castle now. I wonder if there are more people to wake up in here or not. I would really like some new characters to explore. Though I do like Grandpa's balls. They're very nice. Garlic is one of the best weapons in the game for me. And they actually have a version of it in Ball Pit. It's called something like Rancid Onion or something. And it's when they get close to you on the stage, they can get hit by your sphere around you just like this. So, but I was hoping to showcase some new stuff. There are 16 new characters just from Castlevania alone, and I'll be dipped in shit if I can unlock anybody. I should see what the requirements are. Husby would probably be better off like helping me with that, but I am solo Han Solo today. Anybody remember the Just Dance Star Wars edition where it's like, I'm Solo, I'm Han Solo instead of flying solo? That was so fucking corny. I did not wake you up. Get back in there, you bitch. I probably did wake him up, actually. I wish I wouldn't have. It's not time for donuts yet. It's not time to make the donuts. But I can probably, if I break the bat open, I can probably get through the door. The bat's probably what is sealing the door shut. If this works like a Metroidvania type situation, I really don't know if it does. So. Yeah, most things are derivative, but you're supposed to use surprising languages and language and connections in poetry. Like, when is a bear like a cello case? Sort of like connective imagery. And yeah, using cliche is shorthand. Some poets don't like it. They don't use it. And I understand it gets a little hackneyed and whatnot, but also cliches kind of cut through. Like if you say a hot knife through butter, everybody basically knows what you're talking about. Versus if I were to give like some kind of leap that I make, you might not be able to understand the connection right away. And that's another thing. Some poets write to make sure that you don't really understand what they're saying. And I don't mean it, I guess I should take that back. It's not that you don't understand, it's that it takes a while to parse meaning. They very much want their meaning to be a little bit hidden, something you have to really suss out. And I think that poetry should be accessible, but apparently I also have problems making it accessible. I don't know. So anyway, my friend was like, you're a professional. I'm just like, not really, no. Oh, okay. I killed the bad thing somehow. And then I'll see if we can get through the door. Alright. Yes, more holy water. Come on, game. Let me at it. Okay. Okay, what are they leading me toward? I can see. Did I just miss it, or? Sometimes the game gives me an arrow and then the arrow disappears and... Ah, found another relic. I think the relics are like... things on the stage that'll like open up other weapons maybe, so... At least I'm finding something. It could. It depends on how you use it. And that's the thing, like poets will tell you never use... Okay, there's simile versus metaphor. I'm going to assume, just for the sake of argument, that nobody knows what those fucking are. Even though everybody pretty much should know what they are by now. Okay, augments. 1 second, everyone. Okay, we're gonna try that. Okay, so a simile is using like or as. Cliche similes. Eyes shone like diamonds. She smelled like heaven, whatever. Okay. And metaphors are the things are something. He stalked towards me, a panther in the moonlight. You know, him becoming the panther. He was not stalking toward me like a panther in the moonlight. He was a panther in the moonlight. That's basically the difference. And people say when you use similes in poetry, you're using weakness. Because instead of being like this is that, you are saying it is like this. It is sort of, you know, it is as this, so they think that it's a weaker variation. And that for poetry, you should not be using weak language. If that makes sense. Even though, honestly, I use similes all the time. All the time. You will not find me using metaphors hardly at all. And I think that similes get a bad rap, and I think that it's disingenuous to be like, you know, he was a panther stalking me in the moonlight. Like, is this a werepanther book? Like, what are we doing here? You can do both, and you should do both, but people are often like, oh, well, this is the real way to go about it. And I've talked about like show versus tell a lot, because usually I like reading, you know, things that show you more than tell you, but there are times when a book has to tell you. So yeah, exactly. Exactly. You can't elevate anything. But some people, you know, will just be like, cliche, no, never. But you can present it in a different way. My baby sibling actually sent me a song by Zenobia recently. And it's like a metal song, but it's really good. And like some of the allusions and stuff they make in that song about love and like to be choked by it, and like people just be like, oh, they mean like BDSM. It's like, no, you got to dig deeper than that. It's not about that at all. But at the same time, it's like certain people have literal interpretations, and you kind of got to just figure out what makes sense for you as the writer and what you want to convey most to the reader. You know, I try to be clear on what I do or why I make the connection. But poetry is great because as long as I can justify it, I can get away with pretty much putting anything in a poem. I once had a poem where it was a horror poem and it was about this being that literally convinced you to have sex with it so that it could eat you from the inside out. And I wrote it kind of as a seductive measure because it would want to trap you into itself, like move you toward being with it. But like some people would just see that as crass, as, you know, something else entirely, and it's like, well, then it's not for you. I think as a writer, you just gotta find the people that your stuff is for. It's just, my stuff has been called like not for this kind of person and not for that kind of person, so I just kind of gotta let it happen and figure out who it is for, essentially. And if I'm locked in the space where it's not for one type or the other type, then I must fall into people like me. I'm a weird cross between academic and just being a plain old person, I suppose, mentally. I wasn't in academia long enough to pick up their bullshit, and I wasn't, you know, ever to the point where I think it has more to do with like being autodidactic. What is this now? Nice weapon found. Okay. Hopefully I can unlock it. We'll see. I don't have very much hope for me on this one. Aha! I was hoping to find and unlock some new stuff, but I don't know how to unlock the new stuff. But they added so much crap in here, Shelpers. It's honestly... And it was free. It was free, Shelpers. Like, yeah, the Castlevania DLC, like, initially was not free, but the upgrade to it is free, and like the saga stuff and whatnot is free. Like, they have so many free things in this game that even if you decide not to pick up the reasonably priced DLC, you can still get to a point where you get a lot of freebies. And I really appreciate any company that does that. I think I'm walking away from that new indicator. Probably. It's probably how long I've been doing it for. Or the fact that I have a book. People get real hung up on that book, which, yeah, I wouldn't if I were them, but they tend to. I hate to tell you all this, but like, when you're a poet, or even if you're like just an indie author who does like novels and shit, who writes them, you don't really, how do I explain this? You don't get famous. Even the people, unless you have like a 6-7 figure advance with a huge press where you are considered essentially too big to just have them not promote you and shit, like, you don't get that, you know? I've met like people who have like 7-8 novels written and published, traditionally published, and they're still working a regular job like the rest of the people out there. Why? Because it doesn't usually pay. People are always shocked. They think once the first book comes in, you're on Easy Street, everybody's heard of you. Well, with poetry, like, hardly anybody reads it in America anyway. So even if you do have like 18 books in poetry published, ooh boy, mamma mia. I think I'm gonna not be able to finish the round, but we'll see. But yeah, poetry you don't get famous for unless you're really lucky. Like the first like original Instagram poets kind of did. Poets way back in the day, of course, people have heard more of like, you know, Emily Dickinson than they've heard of like Saeed Jones, essentially. Now, you guys have heard of Saeed Jones if you were in my poetry stream that one day. But my point still stands. Yeah, that is true. Most people say they want to write a book, and they never do. Because they will say to themselves, well, I'll have time for it later, and then the later never comes. You know, people do that with a lot of stuff, though. Oh, I'm going to start mountain climbing. I'm going to start working out 5 days a week and get that gym body. Most people, tomorrow or whatever, it just never comes. Either because other things are more important, the thing they want is just an idle daydream. Like, I'm gonna be real. I would love to speak a second language. I would love to learn sign language or Spanish, something like that. But I know in my tiny heart of hearts, I'm never going to get there. Okay, armor also affects listed weapons. Okay, listed weapons also emit special damaging stuff. I don't know if I have very many of those. The projectile speed changes. Okay, that could be bad for me though. Listed weapon projectiles get bounces. Sure, why not? Alright, and we're gonna take... I'm gonna take that too. Give me some more coverage in the back end. So eventually, I think it's where your priorities are or whatever. Like, if I wanted to, I could make learning another language a priority. But I have other stuff that I'm doing. I'm streaming. I'm still doing my writing shit when I'm not, like, having an existential crisis or whatever. There are just other things people want to do more, or things that take our time. You know, if we're taking care of like an elderly parent or children or whatever, it's not as easy to, you know, people are like, if you could, you would. Technically, it's true, although some things stop people. I would love to learn the violin, for instance. My hands will not cooperate with that. Instruments, my hands do not like instruments. I have learned this as a child when I wanted my grandmother to teach me guitar, because my grandmother knew how to play guitar, harmonica, and the organ. My mom was a bassist. She played bass guitar. I just never learned. I just could not learn. Didn't help that my grandma didn't have patience, though, to be honest. Grandma was not a very patient lady for, like, the antics of children. Oh boy, was she not. But certain things you can't help. Also, you know, learning an instrument does take money, because to find a professional instrument that you want to learn on, because I wanted to learn guitar, I really wanted to learn violin, and I wouldn't mind learning piano. But again, even if I could, would I? Like, if you gave me an option for something musical, I would like to take voice lessons. I've always talked about that. I've always said that. Now, I'm 40, so eventually your voice does kind of, I don't want to say slow down, but like get a little rougher with age. So my singing voice would not stay good for long, but at the same time, it would just be for me anyway. But I'm so nervous singing in front of people, I don't know if I could sing in front of... Oh, and I just got my ass kicked. I honestly don't know if I would sing in front of my music teacher either. Like, because I'm just that afraid, so... Yes, bad teachers can ruin anything, but good teachers can actually make you want to learn stuff in a whole new way. But yeah, Grandma was not a patient lady. I think I tried learning from her like one summer afternoon or 2 summer afternoons. That's all it took. And then she kind of killed my want to learn guitar as well. But my fingers don't really do well. And that's another thing is everybody in my family was right-handed but me. So that also kind of has something to do with it, because sometimes it doesn't matter if a right-hander is teaching you a left-handed thing. But other times it really does matter if a right-hander is teaching a left-hander things, like knitting and stuff or crochet, whatever, it will matter. to an extent because of where you have to start the pattern. So if you are teaching someone who's another hand than you are, who has a different dominant hand, but you really don't know that it matters, you can like really fuck up something. So I was up here before and then I had to go down. Oh well, I'm up here now, fuck it. I don't even know if I'm making it the whole half hour, so. Because after half an hour, they kind of are like, okay, never mind. I should do ball pit as like videos on YouTube. I like to play it on stream, but I have it on computer, so. But yeah, so some things I know just aren't a priority for me. Some things I talk myself out of. And it's like Spanish I talk myself out of. Why? Because I cannot roll my fucking R's. I cannot. I wish I could. I cannot. I have learned that I cannot roll my R's. I have tried. Lord knows I have tried. Everything I could think of. When I had like Spanish in like middle school, they would teach us over and over all the different ways to like roll your R's. I cannot do it. I cannot trill my tongue. It is not something I can do. I do not know why. Like I have extra muscles in my tongue. I can roll it different ways and everything. I just can't trill it. So, and that's one of the things that stops me from learning Spanish. Because I know you actually really need to do that. And yeah. Ah, it's gonna eat me. I'm dead. It was my own fault. It was my own fault. I don't know if it's gonna make a difference if I'm back to life because I am in a corridor and I am dead. Okay. I got smashed up against the damn wall like a pancake. Okay. Just crossword puzzles? That sounds like they were checked out. Okay, so my first homeroom teacher in high school. Shout out to Mr. B. Mr. B was the kind of guy, he was a history teacher, and he was a diminutive older dude, right? And he wanted us kids to really love history.
Yeah, you can unlock that person, I think.
Oh, I can?
I think you haven't really played the DLC much on your own system. I guess you were using mine.
Probably. But I can unlock people, I guess, so that's good. I was hoping to unlock people that, you know, they gave me for this, but I don't think I can. Like, it says, resolve the Iron Bell. Defeat the doppelganger with Trevor. I don't even... Okay, I know who Trevor is. I just don't know how to do that. Like, how do I do that? Like, game, please help me. Like, give me a sign. So... Yeah. Well, where's Trevor? Unless I don't have him awake. It would tell me if you... So I don't have any of the DLC people... So I did do this all on your name. Or on your system. So, fuck. Oh, man. Well, we're going to be working on this a while, I think. I'm not going to be able to show you guys shit. I'm going to be so mad. Oh, well. Sorry about this. I guess we'll have to play it again and again and again just to get through it. But it's a chill enough game. Let's take her. I wish it said not yet discovered. I wish it would tell me how to discover it. I really do. Okay. Defeat bosses to unlock new areas. Okay, so I have to do the circles, I guess. Yeah, it sounds like they were almost a substitute teacher that you're describing. But yeah, so Mr. B, he would be talking about something and he would come to school dressed as that character. And like my brothers had him as a history teacher. I don't think I ever did, but one time he was talking about Vikings and shit, and he jumped on top of his desk. And he's like, they yelled, yeah, and he fucking jumps up there. The brother said it was quite memorable. So I guess there are different ways to be a memorable teacher. So, yeah. It's good to have a teacher that makes you fired up about things. It's important to have a teacher that does that. You know, in a world where everything and everyone is competing for your attention, and they essentially like tell you, you know, you're not going to need this anyway, or, you know, because I can tell you that at one point I learned so many things in school and I forgot most of them because most people did. So, or I remember, but I don't know that I remember. Like, you don't remember that you remember. I don't know if I'm being opaque here, but it's like you can recall something and be like, where the fuck did I hear that? And it's like, oh yeah, I learned that in school or whatever. Now most people learn stuff on TikTok. Can we... I can't wait till I get more experience. One of the bad things with her is the slowness of the increasing level. Yes, it takes me a while to gain some... There we go. Thank you, Lord. Garlic, yes, please. Yeah, I will take sweaty balls. Oh my Christ, she's got such range. Oh my God. Sister Mary Catherine over here is got the goods. I'll use the staff. Yeah, pretty much. And he wanted to make it come to life. And history is so easy to dismiss as, oh, it happened in another time. Like, if it's something that was like an atrocity, oh, it wouldn't happen again. You know. And by giving kids a chance to see what it could have been or what it was, at least somewhat, a reasonable facsimile, it gears them up for, you know, because at one point everybody in history was alive. So it just feels like it's so different. Now to me, I'm a horrible person, like trapped in 80,000 miles worth of past, because my brain says like the 1800s was only like 100 years ago. It's not, Chelpers. I saw something that was like, it took place in like 1888, and I'm like, oh, that was like 120 some years ago. No. Like, let's not do that. It's not the year 2000 anymore. We're almost a quarter of the way into the century, for fuck's sake. But my brain is so easy just to be like, oh yeah, that was only like 50 years ago or whatever. Sure it was. The 70s to me was only like 40 years ago, and it wasn't. It just wasn't. 1970, oh, 40 years ago. Yeah, when? And what timeline are you on? But I hear the older you get, the worse that gets, so what do I know? Right, exactly. And just like people are like, well, you know, the Holocaust will never happen again. Nothing like it will ever happen again. And I'm like, sure. Because we don't learn. We don't learn to be kind. We don't learn to accept other people's differences. We learn jack shit. And there will always be people who are cruel, who hate people because they're different, etc. I just hope that there's enough of us to matter. The good people, I mean. To lift each other up, help each other. You know, I'm going to talk about the food stamp thing for a minute. Like what's going on with, okay, the SNAP, EBT, whatever, food stamp thing in this country. So I'm in America. And there are like 42 million people on EBT, on food stamps. And then you have so many people who are like they're all lazy, cut them off. And then people are like, okay, but what about somebody's like 80-year-old grandmother? Like, does she deserve to starve? She raised her kids, she worked her whole life. Does she deserve to starve? And then they'll be like, well, she's the minority. Most people are on it that are lazy. And it's like, well, what about the disabled people? What about the children? You know, they're trying to get people to see like what they're actually talking about. You know, they're talking about somebody, and then they're like, well, if it's kids, it should be the parents. And it's like, do you know how many people on SNAP work? Do you know how many people who get food stamps work? It's greater than like the 5-10% they think it is. And then you add, so it goes from everybody on food stamps is just too lazy. Then the argument goes to, well, if they have a job, it's only a part-time job. Then it's, well, it might be a full-time job, but they should get a second one. Then it's, well, it's their fault that they work for horrible wages and not, you know, the corporations that make billions of dollars in profit and use, you know, SNAP to like subsidize their workers. Cough Walmart, fucking cough Walmart. And they always blame poor people. Like, oh, why are you poor? Because you're not working hard enough, obviously. Even though some people are out here working 2 or 3 jobs. Some people are disabled and can't work, and some people are literally taking care of those people who can't work. So everyone knows my husband is my caregiver. Husby is my caregiver. Husby does not get paid to be my caregiver. Husby just takes care of me. Because I need what they call nursing home levels of care. I cannot shower by myself. I cannot bathroom myself. I need help in the middle of the night. I cannot dress myself fully. I have cerebral palsy, arthritis, a bunch of other things, and I have problems with so much stuff. So Husby takes care of me. If Husby were to get paid for taking care of me, they would give Husby like 5-10 hours a day at like $8 to $10 an hour. If you are gonna hire someone to take care of me, the amount of hours I need, it's not 5 to 10 hours a day. Right. It's about, honestly, they just moved the goalposts on who deserves what. It's kind of like when they go to SNAP and they say, okay, so you need food from us. So the ones who need food, like let's say the like elderly people, okay? So they're like, okay, elderly people need food, but they shouldn't be allowed to buy soda. And then it becomes, they shouldn't be allowed to buy soda or any kind of snacks like chips and stuff. And then it becomes, well, it should be like the WIC program where it's only like a handful of like products like fruits and vegetables and whole grain cereal. Then it becomes, we should just bring back the boxes with like government cheese and shelf milk, and that's all you should get. And then it becomes, you know that stupid Nutriloaf they feed prisoners that's actually considered inhumane? Well, if people are hungry, they should eat that. That we should just get, or give them, or whatever, a bunch of Nutriloaf together and just pass it out. That way, people are fed, but they don't enjoy it, so they get off food stamps. And it's like, so you want the 80-year-old grandmother to live off Nutriloaf, which was considered inhumane by many states in their prisons. You want the elderly grandmother to live off that. You want growing children to live off that. Okay, the cruelty is the point at this point. And then people are like, well, we all know somebody who's using EBT for whatever. And even though EBT, the food stamps, are actually one of the like lowest misused programs out there. It's like 3% fraud use or something. Which, yeah, it's not nice that people abuse things, but okay, I have found there are 2 camps for people. And I'm not going to say which camp follows which like political thing, because you can be in either camp for this, but generally there are people out there who think if one person commits fraud, nobody should get food stamps, Medicare, whatever. If one person commits fraud, I would rather have 1 million people go without medical care, millions of people go without food, etc., than to give it to one huckster, to give it to one liar. And then there are people in this world who are like, I would rather put up with like the 3% fraud to feed hungry people and not worry about that as much as, you know, the fact that people aren't getting fed. So some people would be like, if one person commits fraud, it's not worth it. And some people would be like, if millions can get fed, I don't care if a couple thousand abuse it. And there's generally sides of the aisle that happens with, but there are some on each side that are still bastards about it, whether or not they'll admit to it. So yeah, and that's the thing, like when these people talk about like fraud and stuff, they're not talking about like when Walmart has their stuff subsidized. And I was telling my sister about the dead peasant tax. It's not what it's called in actuality, but have you heard of something colloquially called the dead peasant tax? At one point there was an insurance for companies, big companies like Walmart, McDonald's, etc. But we're gonna go with Walmart. We'll go Walmart and Amazon because reasons, okay? And what that is back in the day, I don't remember which day it started, okay? Back in the day, there used to be insurance for corporations and companies that existed for when you had a highly skilled worker and they died. So say I have somebody who only like 100 people in the entire world knows how to use this like printing process, and I needed them and they died on me. I'm going to lose out on so many orders because the skills they had, these very specific ways of doing this printing, are known by almost no one, and I needed it for my business. So it started out as a means and a way to make it so that if you had somebody who was indispensable to your company, if something happened to them, it would kind of, oh, I let that eat me a little too long, god dang it. Please heal up, Sister Margaret, I need you. Okay, so that's what it started out as. However, places like Walmart can kind of, sort of, maybe, I'm going to say this is allegedly, but they can use it for any employee now. So certain companies will hire you, and in your hiring packet you sign a thing that actually will give them the possibility of getting money if you die. And it's not if you are a person who is indispensable now. Some companies try to use it for every single employee they have, and then you turn around and realize some of these fucking places actually will employ people that are really old. And again, I'm just gonna say for alleged purposes. I'm not saying like Walmart does this with every employee or Amazon does or whatever, but there are a lot of places that hire old people and they have the dead peasant tax or insurance or whatever it's called. I think it's insurance. The dead peasant insurance. So think about this. You're hired, and let's say you were on food stamps. And I'm gonna again pick on Walmart, and this is alleged, but say Walmart hires you and you're on food stamps already. If they hire you, allegedly they can get around $9,000 for hiring you, because they're hiring someone on the dole. And that makes it worth it to the government to give them money for hiring you because they're helping you, you know, get off the dole, quote unquote. Even though they're technically not. Because when you start working for them, generally they don't pay you enough money to get you off the dole, right? So let's say allegedly Walmart gets a $9,000 kickback for hiring somebody who didn't have a job who was on SNAP, but yeah, Walmart doesn't give you enough hours to get you off of SNAP, so they rely on the government to subsidize your welfare, even though they're making billions of dollars in profit a year. Because poor Walmart, you know, they work on such razor thin margins, they can't afford anything. Oh, look, here's billions of dollars they just happen to have every year for their owners, you know, conveniently, allegedly, cough, cough. And what ends up happening is they get paid to take on people, but they don't get, when they get paid for that, they also don't pay them a living wage. So people who work with like McDonald's and Walmart and stuff, they still have to have food stamps. And then Walmart can allegedly, maybe sometimes, cough, cough, turn around and have you sign, and I'm not saying Walmart does this, but they can have you sign a dead peasant insurance. Dead peasant insurance policy, so that when you bite it, they get paid. So if you were, let's say, an elderly woman on food stamps and got hired as a Walmart greeter, they got a kick for employing you because, you know, they're helping stimulate the economy and stuff like that and get you, let's say, a lower percentage of food stamps, and that might be true. So say you go from like 180 in food stamps a month to only like 80, so they save the government like $100 a month. So bully for them. So they get paid like thousands of dollars to hire you. Then they don't have to make sure you get off food stamps by paying you enough damn money. And then when you kick it in like 3 years, they can get paid again. Isn't that great? Yeah, exactly. And you think you ever see that money? You think Imelda, the 90-year-old who they hired to be a Walmart greeter for 3 years, do you think she sees that money? No. And Imelda still needs her food stamps because Walmart doesn't pay her enough. Imelda still needs her medical care because medical care is fucking outrageous in this country. But people blame the poor people instead of the system. And somebody talked about this to me years ago, and they said the reason so many people simp for millionaires and billionaires is because so many people think they are what's called a temporarily embarrassed millionaire. That we were sold such a bill of goods about like the American dream and whatnot. People think they are just 1 or 2 good decisions away from being a millionaire and not, you know, 2 paychecks away from being in the food stamp line or, you know, begging for a commodities box from their church. But that's the thing. More people are near the bottom than close to climbing the top rung. But they don't want to think about themselves that way. And honestly, our specific country is set up that way. They sold us individualism so that when people failed, it became their own fault. Think about it for a second. The land of the free. That means, and the land of milk and honey, meaning the land of opportunity. The land where everybody has a chance for everything. That means you decide what to do with your life. You fail with your own life. It isn't like, how do I put this? If you're disabled, it doesn't matter. You are supposed to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which used to be a saying that proved that you could not lift yourself up. Because pull yourself up by your bootstraps literally meant try to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, something that's physically impossible to do. But now we use it to say, you know, just work harder, hustle harder. So, and that's, yeah, I should probably stop talking about this. I get a little heated. In all honesty, if we're the richest country in the world, no one should be going hungry. We throw away how many thousands of pounds of food a day when stores want to get rid of like their old clothes. They literally put them in the dumpster after like putting paint all over them or cutting them into ribbons so nobody can fucking use them. When there are people who need warm clothes in this country, there are people, it's wild. It is honestly wild how much billionaire cock we suck. While everybody else is dancing when we're struggling out here. And the thing is, the people who have a little are taught the people who have nothing are to blame. Like if you're struggling and you and your spouse are working like 2 jobs and you can barely afford the 1 kid you guys have, you're told it's the person on welfare. You're told if they weren't on welfare that you would have more money for yourself and all that kind of stuff. That's also how we get to not liking foreigners. Oh, well, you know, the people that come into this country, they come into this country to take advantage of our healthcare systems and everything because, you know, they're already so fucking good for our own citizens. People act like the minute you get into this country, you just get like thousands of dollars assistance a month. You do not. And by the way, some of the people they're shitting on for food stamps and whatever, some of those people are fucking active duty. Our men, women, and babies in battle fatigues, keeping our country safe, being posted away from home, missing their kids' first steps, missing their family holidays to keep us safe, to do what has to be done. They're poor enough to still get fucking food stamps. Some stupid ass grunt in the military thinking we're gonna take care of them are being derided on the internet because they need food stamps. Instead of saying, you know, this person could be actively shot at, like why are we making them get so little money that their kids would go hungry without it? Like the food stamps and whatnot. Why are they doing that? If they can get shot at, if they are away from home, why are we giving them so little money they still have to be on food stamps? Can you imagine that? They choose to help our country. And we're just like, nah fam, fuck you, starve. Because you're not working hard enough as an active duty military person. Wild. Absolutely wild. Yes, exactly. So much food in this country is wasted. So many things that could be given away are wasted. It is so bananas, just absolute bananas to me. They would rather people starve and cut out their losses for profits. And like I said, our military, it's wild, honestly. And people are so much closer to being homeless. So much closer to being in a food commodities line. Yep, okay. And then there are people who are disabled like me. I can't work. And people think that like, oh, if you can type online, you can get a job. Really? Could I get a job? If I go out for like 2 hours or so, it takes me days to recover. Days. Where my brain does not want to function. Days where I mix up words like escalator and elevator and lotion and you don't even want to know what. days where I have to get back to baseline. Hell, I'm here online playing a video game and talking, and I only can do that about twice a week. I can't even be on stream like 6 hours a day talking and playing video games because I have to ration out my spoons and what I can do. And I hate that. I used to be a 3 times a week streamer for 2 hours a day, but I can't even manage that. So I'm not sure what they are hoping I can do with myself, but it's not something I can do with myself. It's just wild. Nobody knows what anybody else is going through. Oh, and there have been a lot of AI videos about like black women that are screaming about food stamps that have like 5, 6, 8 kids in the background. And you look at the videos and the kids have like limbs that are like melding into the couch or other like really big AI giveaways. You know, that it was actually faked and made with AI. But of course, certain people have this idea of what a specific type of person looks like on welfare. And they get all up in arms and are like, see, it's the black woman with tons of... No, it's not. There are more white people on food stamps, for one thing. For another thing, there are all kinds of people on food stamps. People on it temporarily because they had a divorce or an accident. People on it for their entire lives because they're permanently disabled. There are a lot of people in a lot of different circumstances. There is something going around I agree with, and it's like the measure of a country should be what we give our poorest people. So if we basically tell our poorest people, like, you know, fuck you, you should starve, if we let people be homeless. Yeah, I'm gonna revive and hope it's enough, but I'm not gonna make it again. But yeah, it just bothers me. And then there are people who are like, if you're fat, you shouldn't be on food stamps. And it's like, there are a lot of reasons people are fat, though. Like, for me, part of it is I like food. I don't eat what people say I do, though, for me being 8,000 pounds like I am. But also, I have medical issues. I have other issues that, you know, are going on. And I think if I had like my hormones balanced and stuff, I think it would be better for me. But I can't be sure about that. But people always think they know. So they're like, if you weigh more than like 300 pounds, you shouldn't get food stamps. So it's like, we're literally starving people into thinness? Well, that's what they said communism was for. Yeah, exactly. People often think if it looks like they believe it looks, then it's the right thing. And I don't understand how people don't realize. But then again, there's been a lot of attacks on critical thinking in this country. They are making moves to demonize science in this country. Fucking science, of all things. You know, there is a conservative commentator, and I'm not going to give you his name, but if I say his catchphrase, people will know what it is. He always says, facts don't care about your feelings. But yet, science is mostly, yeah, there's scientific bias, sure. But for the most part, science tries to find what's really happening. Science is trying to find the facts. But yeah, a lot of people are like, no, science bad. And it's like, but science is about facts. And as the one guy says, cough, cough, facts don't care about your feelings. even though it's a little more nuanced than he portrays on that one, because certain times people bring up facts, it's to weaponize them against other people. I can get into that later if you want, but just trust me on that. But still, facts in a vacuum are just a bunch of data. But that's what they're trying for. Now, there is scientific bias. You know, at one point people swore up and down phrenology was real, which was like trying to say that ethnic minorities were like less smart because their brains were smaller, or some stupid fucking not real at all bullshit. Yeah, you're right. Because there's a 1984 saying, and I'm gonna fuck it up, but I really need to know it so that I can tattoo it on my eyelids. The one that says, they told you to deny the evidence of your eyes and ears, their first or last and most essential command, or something like that. But yeah, they also don't teach you about critical thinking anymore. How to find out if the information you're getting is biased or not. It's like the shutdown for the government. Some people are like, the Republicans are the reason behind it. They have the majority for everything, and they could filibuster or do whatever and get it going again if they really wanted to, and there's evidence of that. And then some people are like, it's the Democrats' fault because they're not, you know, trying to work with the Republicans. And honestly, there's some truth in that. I'm not saying why, but there's some truth in that. Ultimately, most politicians don't really give a fuck about the regular people. But you see, right now, they're in an optics race because next year is the midterms. So everybody wants to make the other side look as incompetent and angry and mean as possible. So everybody's blaming everybody else for what happens and whatnot, and they don't own the parts they play. Now, one of the things that is going around is like, well, the Democrats didn't sign like a clean CV, but then when they're like, well, the reason why the Democrats aren't doing it is because of this and this, people are like, well, they already knew that was going to happen anyway, so they're not. And it's like, but you just said they were doing it for no reason. Like, now you're being disingenuous. And it's like, you have to be genuine. Well, I don't know if it was the Reagan or Nixon administrations that made it so that when you were talking about politics, like political ads, that you did not have to tell the truth anymore. Years and years ago, decades and decades ago, before a lot of you shelpers were born, political ads had to tell the truth. They had to tell the complete truth. You couldn't just smear somebody or lie about who did what. You had to tell them the truth. I'm gonna try to make my stand in this tiny little corridor because I only have a few minutes left. We'll see if I can make it. So there was a law or whatever that passed that said you have to tell people who paid for an ad, like paid for by CPAC, whatever it is. But you don't actually have to tell people the truth. So even like a presidential ad campaign. Oh geez. Sorry about that. Even they don't have to tell the truth. So it's like, what hope do the rest of us have? But if I went online, if I went on a TV and I said like the McChicken at McDonald's could make you have the best orgasm of your life, the FTC would crack down on me so fucking hard, it would make my fucking head spin as they pulled money out of my wallet. Because that would be a non-truthful advertisement. But yet in politics, that's fine. Yeah, 1984 is the book that the quote came from. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their most essential or whatever command or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of how it is. And then people will be like, the thing is though, people also don't understand confirmation bias. When they find something that like gives into their belief, no matter how fringe it is or whatever, they're like, well, this person is saying what I believe, so damn it, we didn't get there. This person is saying what I believe, so obviously since someone else is saying it, it's true. And that's not true either. So we were never taught in a lot of ways, especially now, how to determine what exactly is going on. I'm sorry I didn't open up anything, but I really should get going. I know it's a bit early, but like I said, I'm not feeling the best. So I hope to have some of this opened up if I ever play this again. I'm sorry about that. I didn't know I had to unlock everything, I swear. But I hope you enjoyed, and I appreciate you all. And I will see you Thursday for hopefully World War Z, but I'm never sure anymore. All right, Shelpers, you take care of yourselves. Bye.